Hello, students. I welcome you to the third lecture on Samuel Johnson's poem, London, a poem in imitation of the third satire of Juvenal. In my last lecture, I had discussed how Thales had decided to move out of London and he was traveling to Wales or Cambria, which he believed was a place in a better state and condition than London. And he enumerates a number of reasons due to which he was forced to leave the city. Moving on to lecture 3, we are going to discuss what are the other factors or what the condition of London had turned into. So let's begin. Line number 60 onwards reads, Heroes proceed. What bounds your pride shall hold? What check restrain your thirst of power and gold? Behold rebellious virtue quite overthrown. Behold our fame, our wealth, our lives your own. When Johnson addresses these men as heroes, he is just making a satiric comment. He does not actually means to call them or address them as heroes, but it's quite the opposite. And it is that particular comment is there because there was no check or restraint present in the society anymore. The warriors who were proceeding to fight wars were desirous of power and money. So they had fallen into the hands of corruption, and the pride or the virtue that should have been in them has now been lost, and there is no check or there is no restraint. What bounds your pride shall hold? There is no limit to the corruption that had seeped into the fabric of society. What check restraint your thirst of power and gold? People are running only after power and money, gold. They are seeped in materialism. Behold rebellious virtue quite overthrown. Even virtue, which should be considered to be a good thing, is during those times termed or considered to be something which is rebellious. Virtue has become rebellious, which is completely opposite. Behold our fame, our wealth, our lives, our own. What Johnson wanted to hint at was that these warriors or heroes, they represent the nation, and on them depends the fame of the nation, wealth, as well as lives. But all the virtue that they should have been having has now turned rebellious, and they are only running after power, they are only running after gold, they are only running after materialistic things. Line number 65 onwards reads, and it actually hints at the hopelessness of the situation. To such a groaning nation's spoils are given, land is being plundered, it is being looted. The nation is groaning, it is crying out in pain. When public crimes inflame the wrath of heaven, the crimes are so frequent that the nation is distressed and it has attracted the wrath or anger of heaven, even heaven. But what, my friend, what hope remains for me? The nation is distressed, it is in a very miserable state, and there is no hope left. This is what the poet is trying to say. What hope remains for me? There is no hope. Who start at theft and blush at perjury? There is no hope left. What is the reason? Because they started theft, referring to the people who have turned into petty thieves. There is no hope left because there is no order or logic even in Britain's court, and they blush at perjury. Perjury means lying under an oath. When you lie even after taking the oath to not lie. So the whole land had turned into a very corrupt nation, and there was no hope left for people who were morally upright. Thales is very distressed at this situation, and this is the reason why he wants to move away from the city of London. Now, Samuel Johnson in this poem not just targets Walpole and the government that he was running, but also those who were ardent supporters of Walpole. So, the next few lines is about one of the supporters of Walpole, and we'll come to learn of it. Who scarce forbear, though Britain's court he sing, to pluck a titled poet's borrowed wing, a statement's logic unconvinced can hear, and dare to slumber over the gazetteer, despise a fool in half his pension dressed, and strive in vain to laugh at H-Y's jest. Now, this H-Y's jest probably stands for a person called as Reverend John Orator Henley, Henley, and he was considered to be a public buffoon, a kind of a fool or a court jester, as well as he was a supporter of Walpole, and that is the reason why he is becoming the target of Johnson's caustic verses. Now, Henley was an eccentric preacher and he was noted for his crude jests. Jests refers to taunts or jokes at the opposition. So, Henley was a very open orator who used to speak against all those who opposed Walpole. He was a supporter of Walpole, and that is why Samuel makes fun of him that he plucks titled poets' borrowed wing. He could not come up with original verses of his own, but he used to borrow verses from other titled poets. He is a person uh, in front of whom logic does not work or logic is unconvinced. He is being called a fool over here, and a person who slumbered over the Gazetteer. Gazetteer, the Daily Gazetteer, was the official newspaper of Walpole's ministry, and this is where he used to, in a way, attack the opposition. So Samuel Johnson not just makes a criticism of Walpole, but also his supporters who were there in support of the current corrupt government. In the next few lines, line number 75 onwards, we find how the poet tries to expose the existing hypocrisy. Let's go through the verses first. Others with softer smiles and subtler art can sap the principles or taint the heart. With more address a lover's note convey, or bribe a virgin's innocence away. Well may they rise, while I, whose rustic tongue never knew to puzzle right or varnish wrong, spurned as a beggar, dreaded as a spy, live unregarded, unlamented, die. So the poet's friend is actually grieved because of the existing hypocrisy present in the society. And he says that those who can smile softly, or those who can put up pretenses, or those who can cheat a virgin by giving false notes of love, lover's note, they rise in life. In spite of doing bad things, they are able to rise in life through corruption. But he whose truthful nature and whose rustic tongue never proved a wrong thing right or confused the righteousness of a thing is spurned as a beggar. This is what he says. While I, whose rustic tongue never knew to puzzle right or varnish wrong. He never called a wrong thing right or a right thing wrong. He is labeled or he is spurned as a beggar, treated as a beggar. He is dreaded as a spy, seen with doubtful eyes. Live unregarded, unlamented, die. Such a kind of person who is truthful, whose nature is truthful. He lives his life unrecognized, and when he dies, no one laments over the loss. So such was the situation of the city, that there was hypocrisy present everywhere. Those who used lies and trickery and those who cheated other people, they rose in life, and those who were of a truthful nature, they died unlamented and unregarded. Line number 83 onwards reads, For what but social guilt the friend endures, who shares Orgilio's crimes his fortune shares. But thou should tempting villainy present, all Marlborough hoarded, or all Villiers spent. Turn from the glittering bribe thy scornful eye, nor sell for gold what gold could never buy. The peaceful slumber, self approving day, unsullied fame and conscience ever gay. Now, this name Orgilio has been taken from a French word called as orgueil, Orgueil. Now, it means pride, it's a kind of an imaginary name. And what the poet is trying to say over here is that social guilt a friend, if he is able to endure, if they participate in crime, then they reap fortunes. Only criminals are the ones who are prospering in life in the city of London. But thou should tempting villainy present. But if you decide to go on this path, you will have to remember or be reminded of two people who had filled their coffers or who had earned money using racketeering or using some kind of sly means or device to make money, but they could never buy things which are important in life, like sleep or conscience, with the money that they had earned. The two people that he gives example of, the first one refers to Marlborough. Now, who was Marlborough? Who was Marlborough? Marlborough was the great general John Churchill, and he was the first Duke of Marlborough. And what he had done was that he had made an immense financial profit during his campaigns against the French in the War of the Spanish Succession, meaning that he deliberately protracted war or he promoted war unnecessarily because it enabled him to fill his own pockets. And this was almost like plunder. The second person that he talks about is a person called as Villiers or John Villiers, who was the second Duke of Buckingham. And he was a person who wasted a fortune and died in squalor, but he too had immensely earned his riches through intrigue and a lot of bribery. So, both of these people are examples of how criminals flourish in their lives. But in the next few lines itself, he talks about the demerit of such kind of life as well, the poet. He says, turn from the glittering bribe thy scornful eye, nor sell for gold what gold could never buy. There are certain things which even money can't buy. What are these things? The peaceful slumber, self approving day, unsullied fame, and conscience ever gay. Your morality, your sleep at night, it cannot be bought with money. These things are things which one enjoys because of a good conscience. Thaler says that he would prefer a peaceful sleep over material acquisitions, and he would any day give preference to fame and conscience which is untainted as compared to wealth acquired by criminal means. In the next few lines, we see how the corruption in the city of London had increased day by day because it was welcoming other criminals from lands nearby. The lines read, the cheated nation's happy favorites see. Watch the favorites of the cheated nation. Mark whom the great caress who frown on me. So Thales is frowned upon because he is the person who points out all the follies that are taking place, the foolish activities, the criminal activities, and all those things which needs to be questioned. London, the needy villain's general home, the common shore of Paris and Rome. Now, shore over here can refer to sewer, SEWR. Sewer is a kind of a gutter. So, all the filth and the dirt of Paris and Rome is poured into London. So, London is the sewer of Paris and Rome. And the people of low and mean order, all these criminals who are thrown away from Paris and Rome, they make London their general home because London welcomes them with open arms. with eager thirst by folly or by fate, sucks in the dregs of each corrupted state. So, dregs refers to these people of low and mean order, as I mentioned earlier. And when they are thrown away from their own countries because of the crimes that they have done, England is ready to suck them in. Forgive my transports on a theme like this. I cannot bear a French metropolis. He does not want to become like Paris or Rome, and England tries to copy these French cities, or more so, London tries to copy these or imitate these French cities. But Thales is disapproving of this act of England. So, he did not want London to transform into a French metropolis because London, whose customs imitate French ones, and the French ones were bad enough. So, this is what brings this lecture to a close for today. In the next lecture, we'll continue the poem from line number 98 onwards.